Well, welcome to this introductory webinar. For those that don't know me, my name's Laura and I'm the operations manager at Embercombe. And we're going to spend the next 45 minutes hearing from Tugba and Mac, who are the lead facilitators on the Twin Trail programme. And we're also going to hopefully have a special guest visit from Sophie, who did the Twin Trail with me last year. And she's going to tell you a little bit about her experience on the programme. Once we've heard from Sophie and Tugba and Mac, we'll then open up the floor for any questions that you've got. You can either take yourself off mute at that point and ask them, or if you'd rather not be on camera, you can just type them in the chat at any point throughout the next session, and I'll then read them out. So whatever you feel most comfortable with. For those of you who don't know Embercombe, we are a 50-acre rewilding estate on the edge of Dartmoor, and we run programmes that connect people back to nature and back to themselves. This is one of those programmes. And before we go any further, I'm just going to ask Tugba and Mac to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them. So Tugba, if you could go first and tell us a little bit about your background, that would be great.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Tugba, and I'm delighted to be here and see some familiar faces and new faces. I'm the programs manager and facilitator at Embercombe with the, I think it's fair to say, deep passion for helping people connecting with their authentic selves and uncover their gifts, build resilience and the connection to our natural world, our place in the family of things, as Mary Oliver says. So my journey started from a small village in Turkey, which I visited recently actually, and it's always such a delight. Although there are not many people left, it's almost like empty, and my house and many houses are collapsing. The nature is like thriving, which was amazing to see. Anyway, my journey from a small village, then I moved on to working in the UK in the humanitarian sector for a while, abroad as well, outside the UK, in the topics of women empowerment and youth leadership, fundraising, refugee crisis, etc. And what I learned, although the circumstances change, that our seeking for deeper meaning and connection always stays, and that we're looking something to contribute towards a better world, at least for most of us, some of us. So I came to the Embercombe to do the Journey program myself, and I realized there was a profound gap in my life, which was the lack of connection with nature. I mean, don't take me wrong, because, I always loved and appreciated nature, but I think it was on a more like it is beautiful. It wasn't a reciprocal relationship. And until I got on the journey, something has changed for me. And I'm very happy about that deeper connection. So now here I am, living and working at Embercombe and combining my passion for, helping people, working with people, with, my love and reverence for our earth. So as the programs manager at Embercombe, as the programs manager, I oversee the existing programs and create and design programs. Like the Twin Trail, all the programs, they've got a very special place in my heart, especially the ones that I'm co-leading with Mac. But the Twin Trail has got a bit more special place because I've been part of the birthing of it. And then this is the third year now, and the last 2 years I've seen people, journeying on it. So this has been very special. And I blended things like coaching and embodiment, breath work, and that, again, the connection to nature on my offerings. Lastly, I just want to say that, it's about the program. It's not necessarily about me, but, this is not just about personal transformation, which is, on its own is a radical act in many ways. But for us, it is like, how can we use that inner work to create more impact in our communities and in our world? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there and I will pass it on to Mac.
Thanks, Tugba. Hello, all of you. It's good to either see you or at least see your name. I'm just wondering how I should introduce myself, but I am Embercombe's founder. That was the 1st of May in 1999, about 2 years after a business client of mine asked me if I had a dream, and I described a valley that I'd seen in a vision that I had in my very early 20s. And in that vision, people came and they cried and they laughed and they danced and slept and they met their life partner and they left their life partner and they did everything really that people do in their lives. And when they left the gates, they went out into the world and they made the commitment to share their gifts outwardly into the world in order that we might find our way to a rather better way of living on this earth, along with all other species, and indeed flourish. And he said, "What do you need?" And I said, "I need the valley." And he wrote the check that bought Embercombe. It's not mine. It's held in trust and guided by a board of trustees. To introduce myself, I suppose beyond that, I would just say that for a long time I felt as if I'd been born in the wrong time. I just thought there was nothing about the world as it is, and I'm really now speaking about in the 50s and 60s. There was nothing then that I really felt that I related to very well. And most of the things that I really loved seemed to be things which had we were leaving behind, I suppose. And ever since then, I felt even more inclined to feel that I've been born in the wrong time, except that I suddenly realized that it wasn't the point somehow to love the way in which our society is developed. The point was to hold a banner and to speak up and to speak out and to take action for and to deepen myself as far as I possibly can, kinship with life, with our Mother Earth, and with all things of beauty. And so that's really what Embercombe is. And it is, it's a personal journey, but it's a personal journey with a purpose. And that purpose is to raise a hand and say, I'm in. And what I'm in means is to then contribute our gifts to the world. That's always been with me. I have, of course, as some will know, been mentored by Indigenous people, and that's been both wonderful and a huge challenge. But I think really the last 10 years in particular, I've been searching the answer to the invitation made by a number of those Indigenous mentors, which was, in the end, these are not your ceremonies, Mac. These are not your stories. These are not your ceremonies. These are not your dances, your songs. You have your own mountains, your own valleys, your own rivers, your own forests, and these were once known to be sacred. So now you have to turn the page. You have to let go of all of these things that have helped and assisted and supported you for so long. And you have to make your own way in finding deep relationship with the land to which you were born and live. It's been more than the last 10 years. It's been on for some time, but it's really magnified now. And indeed, earlier today, I was on the land in Embercombe doing exactly that, going through 2 different ceremonies, which were all about deep connection between me and the privilege that I feel I've been given in this life, to do what I can to go as far as I can in knowing what it means to be a child of this earth, and then to share whatever I have that I've gathered as far and wide as I can in the time that I have. While I've just been speaking, my 7-year-old came through the door and was doing his best to distract me, and I'm hoping that didn't come across because I've ignored him. He's now left the room, and I'm just going to go and close the door again, and I'll hand it back to you, Law.
Thank you, Mac. So before we go any further, I think the most beneficial thing you'll probably get tonight is to hear from Sophie, who, as I said before, did the twin trail with me actually last year. And she's just going to share a little bit about how the program was for her. And yeah, over to you, Sophie.
Thank you, Law. Lovely to see you all. I'm just also conscious that my 6-year-old has just come up the stairs, naked as the day he was born, which so hopefully he won't be making an appearance on your screens. But he's a great symbol for the joy and irreverence that I found on the Twin Trail, and that's what I'm really happy to speak to you about today, because for me it feels like such an opportunity to share the gift that was this course. So I came to it having a child of 5 then, and sort of just finding my way out of early motherhood, I suppose, and reconnecting or seeking to reconnect with myself. I'm a creative, a storyteller. I work across various mediums, and I am looking at how I can sort of tell more stories about our deeper connection with the wilder world. And I have, been embraced across various industries, but have struggled to find my own way in my own journey, in my own voice, perhaps in those spaces. And so I was looking to, and especially coming out of sort of early motherhood, trying to kind of reconnect with who I was and who I am on this land. And I, full confession, live in London. I grew up in the countryside. But, I feel that there is a sort of a deep importance for urban dwellers like myself to sort of rediscover and reconnect and reclaim our space in the wilder world. And it's not just for those who live there, but we're all part of it and we're all connected. So I went with a bit of trepidation, probably, because being a city dweller, being someone not having done any of the Embercombe courses before. So I think it's probably important to say that Embercombe has definitely been within my narrative of, or my field of vision of various courses that lots of friends and colleagues and people that I know have been on, and everyone's been, oh, you should do the Journey. And I've often pointed the Journey to a number of people who have actually gone on to do it and had an amazing experience. But it never felt right for me at the times that I've come to it, and I wanted something that went deeper and was for longer. I think part of my fear of an Embercombe course perhaps is that it will be so transformational or so life-altering that a week was not going to be enough for me, and with just topsy-turvy my life, and then suddenly I'd come back to my home and feel completely at sea. So I wanted something that would establish itself within my rhythm of every day as much as it would be a step out of my everyday. And so I joined the course with a little trepidation that I was going to have this life-changing experience that was, would I come back a completely transformed individual? And what I found, so I'm talking first of all about the first part of the course, which is the residential that you have on Dartmoor, and I'm assuming that the course structure is the same, and tell me if I'm revealing too much, because I just go like that. I won't give all the details, but the first part is this residential where you stay within the moor itself by the river, and it was a holiday. I mean, honestly, it was 6 nights or 7 nights or 5, I can't remember, but it felt like a time away to really feel freedom in a way that I haven't felt for such a long time. And yes, there were challenging moments and things, but nothing that I felt like I couldn't embrace fully, because what was held within that space was the openness to be yourself and to share yourself. And that was, you know, a really deep gift, and to be with the land. So the river was a constant source of play, of communication, and throughout the time we would spend a lot of time on our own, going on walks on the moor. I've never felt more safe. You know, there was one afternoon that I just went and took a nap on some stones. You know, like, it's just not something that you have the opportunity to do often, and especially as a woman going out into the wilds, I have never felt as safe and as held and as looked after by the land, also by my friends and those that held the course. So that it was a really profound feeling for me of coming home, I suppose, and coming back to myself. And I talk about this idea that I rediscovered this idea of my child self, and she was someone that knows so much more than my adult self in so many ways, and to be able to play with her again. And play was such an important part of the course, to be playful, to reconnect with your play, to your joy, I suppose. And then after we left, there is this continual connection with the group through online calls. But there's also these tasks that were set and challenges to sort of consider, to think about in terms of your inner and your outer trail. So for me, the first part of the course was very much about inner self and revealing that inner self a little bit more out of body, I suppose. And then the second part of the course is on residency at Embercombe. And as I say, it was the first time I'd been there. So it was an amazing experience to sort of, again, meet this place that it has been mythologized to me many times, and it really doesn't disappoint. It's a wonderful homecoming, again, so welcoming, so basic, you know, so just simplistic in the most kind and generous way, because there's magic everywhere, you know. It's from the ponds, like we were swimming, you know, at very cold times of the year, completely free, and the playfulness that everybody has created at Embercombe for you to have that time to be with nature is so wonderful. You stay up all night if you want to, nurture the fire. Every element is thought about and is part of your journey. Now, the second part of the course is very much about the outer and what we put out into the world. And as someone who does that regularly as a creative storyteller, that's something that I feel really strongly about. And I would urge anyone who's thinking about doing this course to really think about what that is and that purpose for showing up, because I think that's a big part of the course that perhaps some people underestimated. And I think there's something about working together, that community spirit that we as a team need to negotiate over our time together, over the 6 months that we were working together. And I think that's something, again, a real gift to be given these strangers who become friends, who become family, who become a team, who become the community that you want to exist within in the world. And that has, you know, provided challenges, as it would with a bunch of strangers, but also wonderful gifts of knowledge and of learning. And I think it's a big part of our purpose as humans, you know, to come into a world where we have to play together, whoever you are. So yeah, I guess the sort of the summing up of my experience would be that it wasn't life-changing. It was life-affirming for me, and that's what I wanted more than anything. A part of the course is to give feedback and to receive feedback, and to see the world how other people see you, and then to show up in the world how you want to be seen. And I feel that it achieved that in every aspect for me. And it's the learnings from that time will be with me forever. It's, you know, and there's something, you know, Mac and Tugba, they both carry this wisdom, but ultimately they offer up your wisdom. They invite you to meet your wisdom and your belief system. There's no belief, it's in you, it's the gut. And you will know it when you meet it in Dartmoor, in the river, in the rain, and it will speak to you, and it will tell you who you are, and it will be up to you to reveal as much as you want to everybody else and the world. And I think what I've learned is not to hold back, let it out. And in letting it out, you'll be giving, you know, the greatest gift you can. So I'm going to leave it there and just say, yeah, thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Sophie. So lovely to hear your experience, having witnessed it alongside you for so long. Before we get to questions, I'm gonna go to Mac first of all, just to talk a little bit about the Twin Trail. It's one of the founding principles of Embercombe, and obviously where this course was inspired from. So for those that aren't familiar, could you just explain what the Twin Trail is, and why you think it's important to bring this work through this program?
Thank you, Laura. Yes, I will. But first of all, I just want to thank you, Sophie. It was really, really, really touched me, and really lovely to hear you speak in that way, so fluently, so fully. And I'm just deeply appreciate that you showed up and gave us this time. So, some of you may watch the news or find the news in various different ways. And some of you may avoid the news, you know, in a number of different ways. But all of us are aware, I'm sure, of the extraordinary things that are happening on our earth at this time. You're aware, it's almost like a minute by minute feed of how our Earth, in terms of the ecosystems and the whole biosphere of our Earth, is under siege. And piece by piece, really, is falling and collapsing. And there are small things, and there are moments when there's good news comes, but overall, it's not a very good picture. You'll be aware that people are being either voted or taking power around this world, all kinds of people who it's transparent, at least to me, and I think many people, that they're in it for themselves, or they're in it for power, or in it to whatever reason, but certainly not in it for future generations of human and more than human, not in it for the health and sanity and well-being and joyful spiritual and physical, mental, emotional fulfillment of our fellow human beings around the world, or for all other species of plant, animal, whatever, to just be what they are. I've just been joined now by my dog, so Ted, or Teddy. So he's supporting what I'm saying, I believe. And so you're aware, this is the backdrop. And the backdrop is viewed through one lens, pretty frightening, I think. And it's probably only going to get more intense. And of course, we have passed the winter solstice, and we're slowly but gradually climbing ourselves towards another spring. The daffodils are already up, and they've beaten the snowdrops to it this year down where I am. And the bluebells will come, and various animals will wake from hibernation, and the whole cycle of our life, and baby deer will be born, and all that extraordinary sort of fest of life will erupt again as we merge into another spring. Babies are being born, human babies are being born. And those babies will look up with eyes at those who care for them, and we hope they are indeed cared for, knowing, of course, that not all will be, with eyes of trust. That those who hold them and carry them and put them to bed and feed them and everything, play with them, are trustworthy and will do all in their power to ensure that they too can have a life and the ability to learn and grow and find fulfillment. For me, I think it's a question that we all sit with. Our own personal growth and our own personal sort of flourishing and coming into our power is a truly important thing, but it is not the only thing. We're not given gifts to hoard and keep private. We are not given these feelings of empathy and compassion to have them only for ourselves, but for all other life as well. And our circle of responsibility, in my view at least, includes, of course, not only those whom we call friends or family, those who are close to us, but it extends outward and outward and outward. So the twin trail exists because it's saying there are two paths to walk. And one is a path that will occupy all of a life and perhaps many after, as we grow into the deepest and most profound, authentic expression of who we are. And the second path, which twines itself along with the first path, like the double helix, wand of Caduceus, the DNA symbol, this double helix spiral. And that is how we show up in the world, how we bring our gifts forward, how we contribute in some way throughout our lives, while we're also walking the twin path towards the possibility that we could shift from being extremely clever to wise, and that gradually find our way to a whole different way of human beings being on this earth in kinship and collaboration with all other species. And even within our species, of course, we have, as all of you will know, I'm sure, this massive imbalance that exists between genders, massive imbalance that still persists after so many years. We have to find our different way. And so I'm afraid there's, Sophie said you may well come here feeling nervous if you choose to do the twin trail. And that is true. You probably, because of course you would. Who wouldn't? Going into something new, and you'll have those feelings. But I think, truthfully, you should feel even much, much more nervous about how at the end of the Twin Trail program, you might, should you choose to, and whether you will or not choose to, courageously show up not for the first day, the week, the month, the year, but for the fullness of your whole life. So that when that day comes that your life is drawing to a close, you would be able to say, in the time that I had and with the gifts that I was given, I gave myself fully to living this life powerfully, creatively, joyfully, but also fully in service to whatever it is that I call beautiful. So that's what I think the Twin Trail is. Tugba, myself, and the others who work with us, alongside us, we'll do our very best to offer you a circle within which you can investigate and explore. And in the end, yes, we only want you to be you. But what that looks like is pretty extraordinary if you're willing to walk that path. And the other thing, last thing I want to say is, of course, even though it's something like 6 months of traveling on this journey, it is in the end only 6 months, in the same way that the week of the journey is just 1 week. So now it's just 6 months. And as soon as it finishes, and there are some follow-on things. But basically, you then have, let us hope, years following. So it's a commitment that you make. You might have already made. If you haven't, you make it during that 6-month period. And then you do everything you can to nourish that fire through every year that follows. And I do honestly believe, and I would say that I have found this to be true for myself, that it is a ever more joyful and fulfilling pathway. Because though it will include challenge and pain and sorrow and all sorts of other similar things, laughter ripples through the whole thing. Joy of being alive, eyes that really see life. And today, as we held one part of the ceremony that I was speaking of, little Robin came to every single part of the ceremony. And that fierce little spirit was recognized and respected and sung to. And that is how it should be, in the same way that the birds sing to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Mac. That's really, really beautiful to hear. You always articulate it so beautifully. So next we're gonna go to Tugba, if that's okay, who's gonna share a little bit about the content of the course and how the different modules are broken up and the timeline, just to give you an idea of the practicalities of it. And then after that will be the time for questions. So do, if you're not wanting to ask it out loud, this is your chance to start typing them in the chat and I can read them out later. So yeah, over to you, Tugba.
Thank you. Let me share my screen because I have some slides. Here we go. And yeah, here we are, up the dates. Yeah, so this is where we are going to be on Dartmoor. I mean, I feel like Sophie already said everything that I was planning to say. So we will meet at the but before we get to Dartmoor, there are a few more things that I should be saying. I just jump into Dartmoor magic. So you know, I do think a week-long program can you know, change and shift things especially if the calling is strong and if there's commitment. But with various reasons, as we were talking, Sophie was talking as well, just we spread this program so that there's more support in the integration part of it. And then it is, of course, up to the individuals how they take it. But what we also discovered when we have that kind of length of a program, that you get to know people as well, which I will speak a bit more as I do this presentation. So you can find the dates of the program on the website. And then we call those modules and we divided them into 4 with a mid-phase review. But what I want to emphasize to start with is that although we put the online call as the first module, that's not only it. When we say the first module, we also mean all the preparation and all the tasks that we will invite you to get engaged with. That time on your own, creating and getting engaged, will be part of those modules as well. So we will, as everything starts with preparation, there will be a preparation. As we meet on the first module, there will be introductions and really going deeper with what it means to walk the twin trail. We will hear from each other. And also then we will invite you to get engaged with a few activities. And it will be around mapping the journey. And it will be looking into like having really honest, hopefully, self-reflection, and also asking for feedback with people around you in a structured way, which we will share with you. And after you got this information, then you will be assigned a coach, myself, or maybe there will be someone else as well, and to explore what you found during this self-reflection and your with the feedback, and also setting intention towards this journey and drawing a map, but leaving room for emergence, of course. And then after this, we will go into the second module, which I jumped into earlier, the Dartmoor one. I just want to quickly share, when we went to Brimsfarm and we were shown this place where they normally hold their retreats, etc. But we weren't quite convinced about that place. And then we were then taken to this place by the river. And immediately Mac and I were like, this is it. There was nothing there apart from the grass and the river. But we said, we can do this. And it was the best choice ever, because the river is always holding us. It's always roaring behind. You just cannot ignore it. And it has become the very important element of our program. And on this residential, it will be about, seeking guidance. Really, this is the inner trail. So although we don't separate the trails, but for the sake of this program, we are doing going deep into the inner, and now we emerge to the outer. And this deep nature immersion is part of it, the connection and also communication as well. And there will be, there might be one or two other facilitators joining us, and really going into that place of that reciprocal relationship with nature and deep listening, sensing. And there will be a solo walk, which you will be undertaking on your own. Of course, everyone will be doing that, but we have a system how so that you can walk on your own. And there will be fasting for those who are able to. And it is really going into that inner work, perhaps some grief tending, etc. as well. I just want to show you a few of the pictures. This is our village. Every year it is changing slightly, but hopefully when you come, it will be nice and sunny like this. But, even if it is not sunny, we will be meeting you with our warm hearts and invite you to this experience. And this is our team. We have some new team members as well. Some of them are not going to join us, but most of them will be there. And this is the last two cohorts in the sun. But then I wanted to be fair, as I did last year as well. Then there will be some rainy days, really wet socks and everything. But then we will have a fire. We will have fire every day. We will sit by the fire, create ceremonies by the fire, and it will be our witness throughout our journey. And it is really, I think Dartmoor Residential really allows us to connect with all those elements. You really feel it in your bones. And a few more bits from last year. And I'm just going to, this is Dan, who did who was on the last year's cohort. I'm not going to read it for you, just to have a skim it. And you can always come back to the recording if you like to read it in more depth. But I feel like it's really good to hear from different people about their experiences. And then after the Dartmoor Residential, we will move on to the mid-phase review, which is about, what has happened, how far we came and where we are going. And then this is our transitioning from inner to outer trail. That you will be divided into family groups, and then, or we will invite you to organize check-ins among yourselves. So that will be working with smaller groups, and the engagements will continue through the tasks, etc., and to weave the inner to outer. And I have to say, once we start the program, there will be a thread. And with each engagement, we are like making that thread stronger. And although we don't meet in person or even online all the time, we will be always, you know, connected with this thread. And I really love that idea of like that invisible connection between us. And from there, we will then get ready to arrive to Embercombe, our home. And this will be the outer trail. So the inner trail, when we are on Dartmoor, although we are together and there will be time for you to, you know, speak to each other and get to know each other a little bit, but we will also invite you to be in your own space. And then say, you know, you walk alongside each other, but in your own agenda. So there will be some silence. There will be more, you know, inward activities. But when we come to the outer trail, it will be more sociable, and it is shorter but very packed. So there won't be a lot of time, you know, solo or on your own. And it will really require to work with team dynamics, taking self-leadership, which, you know, which is on the heart of all the offerings that we have here anyway. And you will really learn or explore being part of a community. And there will be reciprocities, you know, it's not linear, it is not transactional, it is like that circular in breath and out breath as we describe it. And, you know, throughout the program, you will be, you know, we will be in that in breath and out breath and that rhythm. And in this module, we will see, like, we will experience what it means to give, like give away without knowing the impact of it. And also give even when something feels uncomfortable in a very lovingly challenging way, I would say. So there will be lots of things that are soft and, you know, touch you in many ways. And there will be things which will maybe some of you will make you a bit uncomfortable. But that, I think, takes us to, you know, taking a bit of risk in life for growth. And now we will, you know, everything that we do on this residential especially. So I am experiencing this, and what does it mean when I'm in my life out in the world? That inquiry, like where are the places that I need to use my voice when I go back to my life? So that is like a continuous question as we delve into the outer trail. And just a few pictures. This is our stone circle for those who've never been to Embercombe. And the ceremonies, there you are, Sophie. And ceremony is always in the heart of our offerings as well. There will be space for you to create your own ceremonies as a group, as well as with our support as well. And a few of the creations here. And the teams are busy. And yeah, then we will come to our last module, and which is it will be our last call, and there will be still some, you know, invitation between the modules. And here now it is time to harvest the learnings, and there will be again self-reflection and self-assessment, looking into what now and what is next. And then we will invite you to continue with your family groups for a while, just to get that support. And also your coaching session, the last one, will be after this online call. And that will help you to really look into how you can take this forward. I'm going to, again, just leave those testimonies for a few seconds. So if you wish to read them, you can come back to the recording, which we will share with you tomorrow. And with that, I'm going to end my presentation. I will stop here, and if you have any questions about it, we will be taking the questions in a moment. But yeah, for now, that's it.
Thanks, Tugba. So yeah, just before we head into the questions, I just wanted to come back to Mac and ask if there was anything further you wanted to add before we take questions from people.
The only thing that occurred to me was to just say that, You do not need to be physically fit, in the sense of being able to, race up mountains and do all that kind of stuff. But you do need to be robust, if I can put it that way, because if it chose to rain every day, when we're in Dartmoor, if that happened, then you need to be able to dig a little bit deep and continue to show up. It's just the same, really, as life. There are years or months when the sky darkens somewhat and we still have to live. Well, it's the same thing. And so I'd say not fit, but robust. And by that, I don't necessarily mean physically, but robust in spirit and understanding that there will be cloudy days and there will be sunny days, and one way or another, you're going to keep walking.
Thanks, Mac. And yes, I can testify to that. This year, or last year now it is, isn't it? I think we went from bright sun to sideways rain in the matter of about 15 minutes one day. So we'll get everything. Be prepared. So a little bit of practical information. Firstly, we have a sliding scale for ticket prices, and details of that's all on our website. The idea is to make it more accessible to people. I'm actually going to pop a link in the meeting chat now. So there's a link there to explain our ticket pricing, so you can have a look before you book, if you want to book, that is. If our subsidised pricing is still unattainable for you, we also have bursary prices available, bursary places available even, should I say. And those are 60% of the subsidised ticket, so they are much more affordable. We are still taking applications for those, and I think those will be allocated in the next month or so. It is worth mentioning at this point that this year's programme is already sold out at 75%. So there's only a few tickets left. So it's great to see so many of you here tonight, and we might have a problem if you all decide to sign up. So do go away from this and have a think about if it's right for you. But I'd say if you are feeling called, don't hesitate. There's loads of information on our website, and I've put the link in there as well. Another thing that we do offer is a payment plan. So if you feel called to sign up, but you don't have the funds right now, you are very welcome to pay a deposit. And then you can sign up for one of our payment plans, which are completely interest-free, and it just breaks up the balance over a number of months, just to help make it a little bit easier for people to sign up. And the last bit of practical information is our email. We have 4 of us that monitor this email daily. So if you have any questions or concerns or inquiries after this call, you think, oh, I wish I'd asked that, please do email us. It's support@embercombe.org. And we love helping and answering questions. So the more the merrier. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? We've got Tugba, Mac and Sophie all ready and willing. Mary, come to you first.
Hi. Yeah, first of all, thank you all very much for what we've heard this evening. I wonder if any one of you could just say a little bit more about how, or maybe give examples of how the second path, the outer path, how it's manifested in your life after you finish the course. Something a little bit more concrete. Now, that might be quite personal to ask, so if it's okay, I'd love to hear.
I don't mind answering this one.
Thank you.
So I work at Embercombe. I am around people talking about the Twin Trail all the time. And my reason for going on this was to be able to live more authentically in it. I'd done the journey, I'd heard about the Twin Trail, but I didn't feel like I was showing up outside of just going to work at Embercombe, which in itself is a really cool thing, but it wasn't me showing up fully. And I think the second module I really underestimated it. As Sophie said, I sort of thought, oh, this is the easy bit, you know, we've done the inner bit, that was hard. And it was really challenging in pushing yourself as to how far you can go outside of where you thought the edge of you was. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it just brought a whole new sense of being and of presence and a connection with what are my gifts and how do I bring them out. I sort of had an inner knowing of what I could bring, but it kind of brought that all to the surface. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just sort of. I can sense it. I just wonder if there's any specific examples that any of you could give that say, you know, I now do this I didn't do before, or I think about things differently, or I meet people, or connect with people differently, or nature differently, or
I can help you with that, Mary. It's definitely
thank you.
built my confidence. Like I think at the beginning of the course, I was lacking in confidence and lacking in a sense of self. And what it has given me is a way of showing up in the world to be more articulate, to put myself out there, to say what I think, and to commit to that and connect with that, and to trust myself in those in that being. And I think in that sort of delivery of confidence, but it's not a it's a trust, a self-trust and a sense of self that I carry now in sort of my everyday. But it's also required me to put myself out there more. So I state my case, I state my thoughts more, rather than being quiet about things. I'm more vocal in a gentle way, but in a way that feels authentic to me, and that feels important. That I feel like, having learned what my gifts are on this course, I feel I need to step into them more now.
Yeah.
And so whatever your gifts will be that you will discover on this journey, you will step into them like a pair of old pair of old good boots, and you'll go, oh yeah, I know where I'm walking to now. And that for me is what I got. I also got practical skills in dowsing. I have my pendulum here, which whether you want to buy into it or not, there's something very amazing about being able to sort of discover your sense of connection to the magic of the world. And I use that every day in my own way of showing up in the land and with the land and where I live. So I think, you know, I do a daily sun salute. Like there's a morning ritual and ceremony I carry with me every day that helps place me in the world as we are now. And then I think also it's given me a softness to others that I maybe didn't have before. I think I turned up on the course quite an impatient person, and I think I've definitely mellowed in that regard. And a generosity of spirit to others that is really useful going forward.
Okay, thank you. I feel I could talk to you for ages, all of you, about this, but I'm very conscious of the time. So thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Any other questions? Freddie?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. It was, listening to all of your voices was almost like a meditation. So yeah, very grateful. I've got a practical question, which sounds a bit strange, but I have a bit of a fear of hiking alone. And I was just curious to hear about, sounds slightly crazy, but safety on like walking alone across the moors, and just had quite a few horror stories, which has created a sense of fear in me. I'm great with someone else, but alone is different, which is also part of the reason why I'm interested in doing this. But yeah, just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Mac or Tugba, would you like to speak on that at all?
Tugba, why don't you speak to this one?
Yes, I absolutely understand, and thanks for sharing that concern. I mean, on a practical level, we have a couple of people on the land in like a couple of points. And also we have the radios, and then we keep in touch with who is coming, who is left, who passed a certain direction, etc. So that is, I don't know if it is reassuring. So that will be, we have a system of holding in that way practically. And in terms of your other fear, I think I would say that perhaps it would be good for us to have a private conversation about this if there are particular things that, you know, maybe go a bit deeper and look into that fear a little bit more, and then maybe I can advise you in that sense. I don't know if it is, but if you like to have a chat, just drop me an email and we organize that. Because it is the Moors, I almost feel like, you know, from my experience, we haven't heard any, you know, any danger, etc. But at the same time, we are out in the world. So I just want to be like, just be honest about that. And it is, the walk is as long as you want it to be and as short as you want it to be. It can be like, it can be just walking around the campsite, literally, but it is about the quality of that walk, your connection with that land. You don't need to go to the moor at all. You can be just by the river, just near us, where you can hear the team as well. So I don't think this would be a barrier at all. And we work with that. And if we have a chat, if you want to, we can also work with that fear as well, if, let's say, if it is helpful.
Yeah, amazing. Helps a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're muted, Laura.
So we've possibly got time for one more question.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Clementine, go ahead.
It's really nice to see you all, and just to feel a sense of what's coming. My question is kind of more on a sense of how, when we're preparing, even before anything begins, is there a question that one of you could frame for us, that we could be asking ourselves, even in the months before, in these kind of dark days, that might kind of lead us towards beginning? Thank you.
I think if you gave yourself a couple of questions like, who am I to my friends and those whom I love, to strangers, to my workplace should I work, to younger people if I know them and older people if I know them, to the land, to nature, to the seasons. Who am I? In other words, in all around. And how do I show up? Because we do not necessarily show up as we are. Yeah. So we may protect and shield ourselves because if we are fearful or we've had harsh experience or whatever, that it's dangerous to show up as we really are. But I think there would be questions, not to shy away from any painful answers that come floating back to those questions, and also not to somehow allow any sort of thoughts that somehow make us bigger than we actually are. In other words, all of those things. I think would be helpful prior to attending the Twin Trail.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mac. I agree wholeheartedly.
I just wanted to add a little bit to Mary's question. I would never have started speaking if I hadn't been invited to walk the Twin Trail. And nothing I found more frightening than speaking in front of people. I would never have written anything because I believed I was stupid and I had nothing to say. And I tell a story very often about a woman working in Sainsbury's whom my little boy and I encountered. And I like to tell that story because what we do is not necessarily the marker of how we bring ourselves to the world. It's very important, I think, this woman held a role within Sainsbury's on the checkout. And it's not a career that many people dream of and, aspire towards, but that's what she did. And you probably get paid very, relatively little for doing that job. And I won't go into the full story now, but my experience, my son and I's experience of going through the checkout with that woman was like being showered with all the goodness that humanity can offer when it's freely given, wholehearted, without reservation. So if that person ever came to me and said, what should I do in the world? I think I'd be inclined to say, just carry on doing what you're doing. It really works, because she has a queue of people going through that checkout. And as my little boy and I turned round and looked back, we saw she was doing exactly the same thing to the next people. It wasn't because she thought we were special or anything. It's just what she did. And what she did was who she is. But then you look along that line of checkouts and you'll see people who are just shrouded in self-pity, shrouded in resentment, shrouded in that, all kinds of things which mean that they can never give out. So that's not saying we should all now apply to Sainsbury's and, but I hope, because it doesn't matter. Some of us do things which will be applauded in the world and will be honored. Some of us do things that will be never noticed by anybody, and everything in between. The only question is, what is mine to do? What is mine to offer? We are made differently, thank goodness. We show up in all sorts of different ways. Just want to say that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mac. Tugba, have you got any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to, just Clem's question wanted me to say that we will be sending emails for all the modules before and after. We sent emails, and now your question kind of provoked me to add another email with those kind of inquiries, maybe way before. So there will be, now we can add that one as well. So thank you so much for your question. And that's it from me. It's been lovely to see you all here. Thanks for coming, and thanks for your interest in this work. I really, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And special thanks to Sophie for giving her time to be here and share her experience. And yes, look forward to meeting some of you or seeing some of you again, hopefully, on the land, on the Twin Trail. And as before, if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.